Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Swiss Money Solution, the show providing you with more financial tools than a Swiss Army knife. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, and joining me in the studio is the CEO of Swiss American Financial, Jörg Eichmann. We've got a great show for you today. The title of today's show is Taxation in Retirement. Are you ready for it? You're definitely not going to want to miss what Jörg has to share with you today. Jörg, my friend, always a joy to be here with you. How are you this week?
Thank you, Chris. I'm doing fabulous. Always looking forward to these shows.
Yes.
Wonderful time.
Me as well. And I have to thank you for my very special gift. You might have noticed I'm now wearing my own Swiss American flag pin, which, as I told you, having grown up for part of my life there, I have one of these somewhere in my house, but I'm not sure where. So thank you for bringing me one for the show.
Hopefully you'll find it one way or another. Maybe keep one in both.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, thank you so much.
Awesome.
Well, this concept of taxation and retirement, you know, the reality is it is so important to pay attention to what your potential tax bill might be in retirement. A lot of folks think that their taxes may go down, but the reality is for a lot of folks, your taxes may go up. So we're going to get into that today, the problem that folks are facing, and also helping you be prepared and ready to face whatever potential tax bill might be looming for you in your retirement. So Jörg, I want to start, before we dive in, I think it's important to clarify for folks the difference between tax preparation, which is what a CPA does, and then engaging in strategic tax planning, which is what you and the team of Swiss American Financial engages in for your clients. Can you explain that difference for folks?
Sure, I'd love to. So I think the most important part for people to remember is your CPA essentially looks at all the errors you made last year and then gives you the receipt for it, right? They're not planning for you and telling you, you know what, this is what happened last year and this is what it's going to cost you in taxes. But what they're actually doing is, that's it, and you pay the taxes. So they're not really giving you tax advice for the next year, and that's where we come in. So that's what we call tax preparation. Tax planning is what we do. We come into that point where I think we talked about a couple that I met at an investment club, and I was a guest speaker for 2 days, and one of the future clients at that point, which is a great friend of ours now, said like, yeah, I understand how the merry-go-round of us asking our CPA, hey, I want to sell some stock. What's tax consequence? He said, like, I don't know. You have to ask your investment advisor. And then they go and ask their investment advisor, and guess what? Says, well, I don't know that. You have to ask your CPA. So that merry-go-round, just going through Disneyland every single year. They did that for 10 years.
Wow.
And we just figured out that there is a lack of service in this particular niche of services in the financial industry, where we realize we have to offer a holistic retirement fiduciary financial planning system that includes all these questions as well.
Sure. You know, as you were talking, it reminded me of an analogy that I've heard, because we need CPAs. That's an important part, right?
Absolutely.
We need to do our tax preparation every year, but it's almost like they're archaeologists looking in the past. I like that analogy you said. They're showing you all the ways it went wrong and then showing you the receipt for it, right? But what you are doing, it's more like an architect. You're building a plan so that folks can hopefully, and that's the goal, is to save more money in taxes, to not pay any more to the IRS than they're legally required to pay. That's the goal.
Yes, exactly. And thanks for bringing that up, because our financial blueprint that we're going to point out at some point during this show today is really tailored to be the final stage of your retirement planning, tax planning, required minimum distribution planning, IRMA planning, Medicare planning, everything that needs to be figured out long before we talk about investments, annuities, real estate investments, stock market, and so on. It's really irrelevant if you don't have the puzzle solved, just like an architect. You get a blueprint, you pour the concrete, you build the walls, you don't buy the window dressings on day one just because that's your most favorite thing to do. I understand a lot of people think that way. Well, it's kind of boring and annoying, and I want to spend all that time. And again, most people spend about 2 weeks planning for their vacation on an annual basis, and they spend an hour and a half on retirement planning. So that is absolutely crucial, especially in light of the fact that we are really in the lowest tax environment of our lifetime. So I often ask our clients or people that attend our workshops to say, like, what do you think? Are taxes going to go up or are they going to go down? Who thinks they're going to go down? Everyone chuckles in the room. That's we know exactly the reaction that's coming from. When you ask who thinks their tax is going to go up, every single person raises their hands. I think Americans are smart enough to understand, at least those who show interest to actually come up to our events. They understand there is something looming in the distance here. And we are, as Jim often says, hope that that light at the end of the tunnel is not the oncoming train.
Right. Jim being your team member at Swiss American Financial. Yes. Yep. Well, I want to put up a graphic here for our viewers, which I know is one that you often use during your live events to kind of set the context for today's conversation and really explain the problem of how much money is going in versus how much money maybe not being paid in taxes. So do you want to walk us through what we're going to look at here?
Sure, I'd love to. Yeah. So what we're seeing here actually is a tax history that we used to have in the past, okay? And it also shows that 1 in 3 Americans have not saved enough for retirement. The bottom line is, if you look at real statistics, it shows that 1/3 of Americans have absolutely nothing at age 65. Imagine that, how scary that is. You're finally done working, and the only check you get is Social Security benefits.
Right, so you're saying 33% there, that column on the left of people, when they reach 65, have zero saved for retirement.
Yep, they have nothing saved. And then there's another 23% that have about $10,000, another 10% that have less than $50,000. Now, what does that mean? If you add all these numbers up, that means that 66% of the working population will never pay into our federal tax system.
Wow.
So if you're in the lucky position to have $100,000 or more saved in retirement and have 401ks, 403bs, 457s, congratulations. But at the same time, you're it. You're going to be one of the lucky 33% that is qualified, which is another wonderful term to say, hey, welcome to taxation.
Right. I always say when it's a qualified account, that means it's qualified to pay tax on it, right?
Right.
That's a good way to remember it.
It's a weird thing, right? They have these lovely names, like a drawdown is really a loss. Qualification means you can pay taxes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They're very sneaky that way,
is
right?
really negative.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a really good point, actually. Yes. So we have this looming tax problem, and I think it's so important, as we're talking today about taxation for retirement, are you ready for it? For folks to understand how each dollar they own heading into retirement is going to be taxed. So most people enter retirement with 3 different types of accounts, right? We have taxable, tax-deferred, and then hopefully tax-free as well. Let's start with the taxable accounts. What do our viewers need to understand about the tax treatment of their taxable accounts?
That is recently a more important subject matter that we have to talk about again. Why is that? Because of higher interest rates. A lot of people decided to finally use the opportunity to get higher returns again on their CDs. When was the last time you were able to get 4.5% to 6% in a CD for a year? That's been 2 decades ago, right? So even though the Federal Reserve, and we're talking about that in some of the other shows, has done a couple major boo-boos in my personal opinion, it helped. The interest rate increases helped the actual consumer, because now they're getting something for keeping money in their high yield savings accounts and CDs. So we have these bank accounts, we have CDs, we have real estate income, we have all types of incomes that you get, even a pension, whatever, right? If you're one of the lucky 13% that still gets a pension from that pooled fund that your company provides. But these are all income sources that will all be taxed at the end of the year.
And it's going to be taxed at what rate at that point? Ordinary income tax?
Yeah, it's essentially ordinary income tax. And what's really devastating for a lot of people that didn't pay attention to that, we have clients or prospective clients that came to us that decided at the end of the day, just for the next year, I'm just going to put $500,000 into a CD. Well, if you put $500,000 into a 6% CD, well, guess what? That $30,000, right, is going to be taxable fully. Did you take that in consideration when you made that choice? Are you sure that didn't put you over the top to the point where your Medicare premium just increased? It's almost impossible for the layman to understand this complicated system of taxation that you have to look at the end of the year in order to understand how they all work together to basically suck out more money out of your pockets.
As you were talking, or gave me the image of how many tax landmines there are, if you will, throughout someone's retirement that they could trigger not knowing and unfortunately trigger a higher tax liability. I know we have a lot more to get to on the show, including the tax treatment of the different types of accounts that folks enter retirement with. But you mentioned your blueprint that you provide, and I know you're offering a complimentary financial plan. It's the Smart and Ready Retirement Plan. But talk about this blueprint and what folks can expect when they call in and connect with you through the show.
Thanks for asking. That's a great question because it is the final document that you're going to get when you're done. You basically graduated through your retirement process. We start with a first meeting at no cost. None of our processes have any cost until you decide to actually become a client. And at that point, there's only a small fee for money that's managed in the market. We will explain to you the intricacies of how the financial network and the financial industry works, but we're an independent company, so we can actually provide the most of the services to our clients absolutely at no cost to them. So the first step is you start a fact finder that leads us to meeting number 2, where we present you with your individually created retirement plan. Okay, it's called the Smart and Ready Plan for a good reason, because it makes you smarter, you understand exactly where you're at, and you're going to be ready for retirement. From there, we also create a tax strategy for you for the next 10 years. And then from there on, you will get that retirement blueprint that Kristen just showed you. That retirement blueprint is updated on an annual basis, and all of our clients by the end of January get an updated version for the next 10 years, perfectly tailored. That'll get you peace of mind to actually enjoy your retirement, not just live through it. Enjoy it, because you know all your income between paychecks and paycheck will be met.
What a relief that is for folks. And I'm excited for more people to get to connect with you as a result of this week's show and be able to start their very own Smart and Ready retirement plan process. So if that's you, if you know you need help navigating these tax landmines, you might already think you have a financial plan in place. Are there ways you might be able to create greater tax efficiency throughout your full financial plan? This is a great way to find out. So we encourage you to connect with the team of Swiss American Financial. You can do so in 2 ways. Simply call 855-620-2567 or take out your smartphone. And if you open up that camera app, you can point, click, and scan that QR code that you see there down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. That will take you over to a landing page, ask you a few short, simple questions, and then a member of the team from Swiss American Financial will reach out to connect with you to schedule your meeting that way as well. Don't go anywhere. We've got a lot more to discuss today on this episode of Taxation in Retirement. Are you ready for it? Right after this.
When was the last time you saw your financial professional? Are you getting the most out of the strategy that was created for you? Although you've done a great job finding someone to help plan for your future, are you 100% sure that you were given the right strategy? We can help answer these questions and more with a complimentary second opinion evaluation. We will take a look at what you have in place and then help determine if you're well positioned to get the most out of your future retirement income. In the event that it is not, we can help by making suggestions and showing you how to get on the right path. You wouldn't get just one opinion when it comes to a major health decision, so why would you treat your most important financial decision with such disregard? Call today for your no-cost, no-obligation second opinion evaluation to see if you're getting the most out of your retirement income plan.
Welcome back to the Swiss Money Solution. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, here with Jörg Eichmann, CEO of Swiss American Financial. We're so glad you're joining us. If you're just tuning in, today's episode is all about taxation in retirement. Are you ready for it? And before the break, we talked about the first of the 3 kinds of accounts that folks typically enter retirement with. We talked about taxable accounts. It's time now to talk about those tax-deferred accounts. And we know that the majority of Americans have the bulk of their wealth saved up in these tax-deferred accounts. So run us through what all is included in that grouping.
So tax-deferred accounts can be 401ks, 403bs, 457, TSA, whatever you have, right? That allowed you to put money away that's not taxable yet, but will be taxed at the point where you're taken out. So that's that old rule, right? Compounded interest is the greatest invention in the universe, as Einstein used to say. I think Warren Buffett also mentioned something like that.
Yes.
But in your case, if you have retirement plans, at some point there comes a day when the chicken's going to come home to roost. And unfortunately, at age 73 currently, you are forced to take that money out and it's called required minimum distributions. If some of you watched the previous show, it's kind of like these abbreviations that people always get wrong. Minimum distribution requirement, or required minimum distribution, or distribution maximum, or it's very hard to remember. But these are essentially pre-tax accounts that you are forced to take out. And you really need to make a plan in order to make sure that you are not going to be overtaxed. We always say, if you fail to plan, you're going to plan to fail.
Absolutely.
Because the government always has a plan for you ready.
Yes, and it's in their best interest, not your own, right?
No, and you need to take out 4% at age 73. Let's say you have $1 million saved, $500,000 between you and your spouse. Let's say you did a great job. Well, guess what? That's $40,000 that you might not need. That might just push you over that limit to the next tax bracket, right? So these are important things to remember. You did a great job putting that money away, but now it's time to look into maybe Roth IRA conversions or other strategies in order to make sure your taxation on Social Security benefits can be minimized or optimized.
Right, because that's a huge gotcha for a lot of people. A lot of folks are not even aware that their Social Security benefit is subject to taxation, and for some of you, it could be taxed up to 85%. So again, this is why it's so important to look at how all these pieces fit together. All right, so we've touched on taxable accounts, we've touched on tax-deferred accounts. Let's talk about our favorite kind of accounts out there, right? Which are?
Tax-free accounts.
Yes.
Yeah.
We love those.
There's not a whole lot of those, unfortunately. Okay, so the number one, of course, is your Roth IRA. Your Roth IRA is the most beautiful thing, best invention ever, because not only does it grow tax-free, all the distributions from it are also tax-free. Okay? There's a 7702 plans. You can do some index universal life policies. That's another good option. That's not for everyone because it's based on age and health. So that might not be a solution for you, but it is something we also take in consideration when a client walks in our door and looks for a full solution in our retirement plan.
So again, understanding how much money you have, where that money is, what kind of accounts it's in, and the tax treatment of all those accounts is really important to set yourself up for success in retirement. I want to go back to something you said earlier in the show, Jörg. We were talking about the timing of where we are as a nation with tax rates, and I think this is an important thing to show folks so that then it makes more sense why now is the time to act, to be proactive with the tax planning. So I know we have another slide we're going to show here. Can you walk us through what we're looking at?
Well, as we all know, tax laws and tax rates are not fixed. They're always going to change. It depends on administration. It depends on, who's in power at what point. It also depends on, what is our budget looking like? And as we all know, our national debt is absolutely exploding at this point.
Out of control. Over $36 trillion and counting, right?
Imagine just the debt obligation on that alone to pay the interest on. The higher it goes, I heard an estimate at 2035, it's supposed to be 50 trillion, right? So imagine if there's a 5% or 4% interest payment on that, how much money has to come from a taxpayer? So if you look at this chart, you can see that we are really in our lifetime's lowest historic marginal income tax rates that we've ever experienced here in our lifetime.
Right, it's the third lowest brackets we've had in the history of our country, which is mind-blowing when people think of how much they're being taxed now, right?
Yes, exactly. And that's really why you may want to consider to actually see in a tax strategy specialist. And that's something we do.
Yes.
We want to make sure that if the tax rates go up, we have some kind of a software that will reflect that change in the tax rates. So 12 goes to 15, 22 goes to 25, 24 goes to 28. That's a 4% increase on that tax bracket alone. You better be prepared for that. You don't want to ever touch that. If the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act goes away through the sunset provision that they built in, that's going away at the end of 2025. You really need to take these steps in order to make sure that you're never going to fall into that tax bracket.
Well, and the best way I can think of to take those steps is by starting and getting your very own smart and ready retirement plan. So if you know that you need to have a proactive tax plan in place for your retirement, we encourage you to reach out. We know that some of this might be new to you. The good news is it's not new to Jörg and the team of Swiss American Financial. They would love to help look at your numbers and see what kind of proactive tax plan can be built for you. That number to call to claim yours is there on the bottom of your screen, 855-620-2567. Or again, you're welcome to scan that QR code, and that will get you connected as well. We'll be back with more right after this.
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. After nearly a lifetime on the job, you should be rewarded for all the time you spent working. Whether that's crossing off items on your bucket list, learning a new passion, or rekindling the love of an old one. After all, life isn't over when you stop working. It's the start of an all-new chapter. The one where you're the writer and you get to choose how your story will go. A way to achieve that is by having a clear financial plan to sustain your golden years. The biggest fear most retirees have is if they'll have enough money to maintain the lifestyle they've always enjoyed. Having a plan to help protect you against the curveballs life often throws will help to maintain your lifestyle. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
Welcome back to the Swiss Money Solution. I'm Kristen Oakley here with Jurg Eichmann, CEO of Swiss American Financial. And on this show, we are all about providing solutions. We've been talking today about taxation in retirement and posing the question, are you ready for it? And Jurg, I smile when I think about what we say at the top of every show, that we are about providing more financial solutions than a Swiss Army knife, right? I know you've got lots of tax control tools, if you will, in your toolbox that you provide for folks. How do you help people lower their potential tax bills in retirement?
Other than structuring their income streams accordingly in order to A, make sure that they have enough money that covers their paychecks and playchecks, which again, we show in our blueprint every single year. We also look out to see, are there opportunities maybe by structuring certain incomes with non-taxable incomes to leave a little bit of a certain tax rate open for Roth IRA conversions. This is not for everyone. I would say in general, as a number, I would say 30 to 40% of people that we see have that opportunity or would like that opportunity. Because remember, it's the pain threshold. How much are you willing to pay in taxes now at a discounted rate? So 2025 might be the last year with the current tax rate we mentioned at 10, 12, 22, and so on and so forth. That might all change after this year. So in any case, it can't hurt to take the opportunity to look into it and explore a complementary retirement review with a real retirement plan that then shows you what your options are to do some Roth IRA conversions over a couple of years. We have a client right now, Jenny, she just got a new conversion idea. She said, well, I have a nice blend between annuities, my Social Security, my pension, my money in the market, my real estate income. She came up herself with the ideas of like, what if I take advantage of one of the bonuses that one of these life insurance companies offered me with a fixed index annuity? I'm getting a 25% bonus, let's say. So I can now pay taxes over the next 5 years on that $250,000, $50,000 every single year. It's gonna cost me about $10,000, but guess what? With my bonus, I'm almost breaking even. I cannot use my Roth 401k for 5 years anyway, right? Because you have to be 59 and a half or wait for 5 years for every conversion. So if you structure this completely right, after about 8, 9 years, you will be able to take all that money for the rest of your life, increasing at zero taxation.
Wow. That is such a good way to think of it. It's using different things to your advantage. I mean, these are all things that are available, tools that are available, but this might be new information to you. I think a lot of folks, unfortunately, when it comes to taxes, they think, oh, that's just the way it is. There's nothing I can do. Your point is, no, there's options. There's things available that can be done to help people pay less to the IRS, right?
Absolutely, yes. And as we said, it doesn't work for everyone, right? You might need most of those retirement funds that you generated and did so well in order to prepare you for your retirement, but they might serve as your guaranteed income that you need in order to meet your paychecks and playchecks. But there's a lot of people that have enough Social Security and enough pension money coming in or other sources of income where they can say, you know what? I can really change this so when I get older and need required minimum distributions to start, or start my Social Security benefit, which is another thing you have to take in consideration. What if I wait 2, 3 years? In those years, I'm not getting taxed on Social Security benefit, as you perfectly mentioned. About $44,000 in income, it turns every dollar into $1.85 of taxable income. If you can plan for that to not happen because you think early, and often about converting every year a little bit of your pre-tax income,
Right.
you might be left with only Social Security benefits and pension and tax-free income. Now, that is a game changer.
Oh,
I can
it
guarantee you that.
totally
We've seen
is.
this multiple times.
Yes, for sure you have. And we talked about tax landmines earlier, how much goes into all of this. I also want to encourage our viewers, don't try this on your own. Don't try this at home, right? There's so many ways it could go wrong. And to your point, it really depends on your individual situation, what the right strategy might be. So if someone's watching and going, yeah, I'm not sure, if these strategies would apply for me, maybe a Roth conversion is the right thing to do. Maybe it's not. And if it is, how much and when? I mean, there's so much that goes into this. So what would you say to someone who's now running through all this in their mind going, yeah, I'm not sure what to do for myself?
Well, I would say, why don't you know this yet? If you already work with an investment advisor, so to speak, or another financial advisor, look, I'm not downgrading everybody else, but if you don't have these answers by now, there's probably something missing. If there's something missing, you should probably give this a second look, okay? There's no first impression. We know that,
Right.
okay?
Yeah.
There's no second opinion.
Right.
Okay? The second opinion cannot come from the person that gave you the first opinion.
So true.
So I think we really should look at this together and start on the process or with the process of doing a retirement plan first with tax strategies. At that point, we can decide, that makes sense to me. Let's go to step 2 and start implementing those plans in order to make sure that you get the most tax beneficial or optimized version of a retirement plan for the next 10 years on an annual basis.
Yes. No, so wise to think through these things. And so if someone's watching and they want to take advantage of figuring out what these tax saving strategies might look like for them, of course, it starts with this Smart and Ready retirement plan. Remind our viewers what they can expect when they call into the show to schedule a time to meet with you.
So the first meeting is about an hour. We do a fact finder. We have a follow-up meeting, and that will actually show you a retirement plan the first time around, with tax strategies, required minimum distribution optimization, Social Security optimization, and then essentially a blueprint. So I'll invite you to come join us. There's no cost to it. You spend a lot of time on vacation planning. Take a little time out for your rest of your life planning.
So true. The longest vacation of your life, potentially,
Exactly.
right? Jurek, thank you so much. And to our viewers
Kristen.
at home, thank you for joining us. Again, that number to call to get connected and start your Smart and Ready retirement plan process, 855-620-2567. Thanks so much for being here. We look forward to joining you next time here on the Swiss Money Solution.